5:30 p.m. Monday, October 28th, 2019. I'm calling this meeting of the City Council of Paris to order. The invocation will be by Gene Anderson, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Ms. Portugal. Everyone stand, please.
May we pray? Heavenly Father, we're indeed thankful for your many blessings, for your watch care over us. Father, we thank you for the city and all that it provides for us, and we just pray that you'd guide and direct our leaders tonight as they conduct the business of the city. Give them wisdom and understanding, Father, and we pray your blessings upon our citizens, for we ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is Citizens Forum. Persons desiring to address the council must limit their presentation to no more than 2 minutes. Unless an item is posted on the agenda, the Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the council from responding to any comments other than to refer the matter to a future agenda, to an existing policy, or to a staff person with specific factual information. Claims against the city, council members, or employees, as well as individual personal appeals, are not appropriate for Citizens Forum. The Citizens Forum is now open. Anyone wishing to address the council, please step up, give us your name and address. You'll have 2 minutes.
Hi, good evening. James O'Brien, 3150 Bonham Street. I just wanted to take this brief moment to start off with a positive note. Thank you, everyone at the City of Paris. Thank you for all your effort this week in putting together the Festival of Pumpkins. What a wonderful turnout, even though there was a little bit of bad weather. It was just fantastic, and that is what Paris is all about. That's why we love this town, and I know it was a hard work, and oftentimes the city folks go underappreciated, but I want to let you know it was very appreciated. And I liked where we moved it to this year. I thought it was a lot safer for the kids being out there. I know it's a little bit off from the square, but it's not that far. I thought it was fantastic, and thank you for reminding me why I love being part of Paris. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carolyn Williams. My address is 1205 West Center Street here in Paris, Texas. Anyway, I would like to thank all the workers for making sure the signs, we had quite a bit of signs, street signs that was taken down and never was putting up after they got through working on it, so that's back intact. And the stop signs need to be replaced also. And then I have this issue about people, well, this person moved a trailer house on a vacant lot, which the lot sit behind my apartments. And I called, and I know that it was not legal, to have it there. And it's been 2 months, and it's still sitting there. The people doesn't have access to running water, and they are using running electricity from another house to have it at the trailer house, and I think that's very, very unsanitized on those conditions also. And then also I want to do say something about the houses that has the orange tags on them. Some of those houses been standing for 5 to 10 years and never been torn down. And it has been so much of a safety hazard. And we have so much other traffic, and people are beginning to live in those houses that has a tag. And I think the weather's been beautiful, and I think they should have been torn down 10 years ago. Thank you.
Have you called code enforcement on the trailer that you say people are living
Yes,
in?
I called them, and she went and talked to them, and she said they was gonna move. I said okay, and then I called her back, and she said I told her they were still there, and she said now the process of doing. She said they got to get them evicted. They're gonna have to go to court, do another 30 days, and then they have another. So many days before that process began. But I'll talk to Dana about that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else wishing to address council, please step forward.
I'm Luanna Ballard. I live at 64012 Southeast, and I was wondering if we could do something about the traffic on that street. It's like they're drag racing. If we could maybe put some speed bumps in, and there's a lot of children that are starting to walk late at night, and from Clarksville to my house, there is no blue sign with Think Child Safety. Now, way on down the road, coming back towards Clarksville, there is one sign. And also the drainage. When it rains, like it has this last week, in front of 521 12 Southeast, it's just a big mud puddle. And people fly down that road and hit that mud puddle, and water goes all the way up to his mailbox at his house. But it's a lot of traffic, and they're just driving too fast. And I know the policemen, they're busy taking care of other things. They don't have time to, watch it as often as I wish they would come by all the time. But I know they're busy.
Is a speed bump something that would have to go through the traffic commission? Or how would that work?
I'm not sure if that would or not, but that's not on the agenda.
Yeah, okay.
Because
Okay.
when the trailers, like if somebody's pulling a trailer with lawnmowers and stuff in it, and they hit where that water's real bad at, it just rattles and makes all kinds of noise. All right, Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Anyone else? Yes.
My name's Troy McLeod. I'm at 65112 Southeast. That puddle she's talking about is right in front of my house. And water seems to drain from both ends of the street to there, and then it builds up to the sidewalk, and everybody hits it so hard that my house is back away from the street, that my porch gets splashed with water. That's how fast the traffic is going there. We need to get that drain fixed, and we need to see if we can do anything to get that traffic slowed down. And, it's a big hazard. Like she said, when somebody goes through there, when they got a trailer, things are bouncing off of that trailer onto the road. Car parts are all up and down through there when they hit that water puddle. It's a big danger.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the council? If not, I'll close the public session. Citizens Forum, I mean. Next is consent agenda. Anyone have anything on the consent agenda go ahead, Ms. Portugal.
I'd like to pull item G on the Board of Adjustment minutes, please.
Okay, we'll pull that. Anything else want to be pulled? Okay, go ahead and we'll discuss that right now.
Well, I've got to find it first. Do we not have a printed agenda? It won't be up there. The Board of Adjustment item regarding 322, thank you. Yes, thank you. Item F on the first page, 322 17th Northeast. The property fire was in August of 2018. And the roof damage has been visible ever since that time. It's a metal roof and it had melted. And I just wanted to point out that it's just now come to the Board of Adjustments in September of 2019. That's a public safety issue, I feel, and I don't understand why it takes over a year to get a property owner to repair their damage from a fire. And this has been a concern of this council for at least the last 6 months. We've all focused on it, and I think this just brings up it's the roof line through the structure in back, and daylight is evident through the roof. It's a nuisance and should be demoed within 30 days. I don't know why the rush now to demo it when it's been sitting there like that for a year.
Any other comments on that, or we're just accepting the reports, but thanks for bringing that to our attention. Okay. I'll entertain a motion then to accept the consent agenda.
I'll move it.
Ms. Portugal.
Second.
Second. All in favor? All opposed? Okay. Item number 13, approve reassignment of a hangar lease for Hangar M from Colin Marino to Texbama 2 LLC. Ms. Easton.
Colin Marino currently has a ground lease for a private hangar at Coxfield, and he's asked that that be reassigned to Texbama LLC, for which he is a partner. The original lease will stay completely as the same. It's just the name on the lease will become Texbama LLC. So this reassignment would basically reassign the lease to that LLC.
He owns the LLC is what you're saying?
He is a partner.
Yeah.
All right, any questions or discussion? All right. I'll make a motion that we reassign the hangar ground lease agreement from Colin Marino to Texbama 2 LLC.
Second.
All in favor? That's good, thank you. Item number 14, discuss, conduct a public hearing, and act on an ordinance designating a certain area as tax increment financing reinvestment zone number 1 and establishing a board of directors for such reinvestment zone. Which one of y'all is going to go over this with us?
I'll take this, and
Go ahead.
our consultant is here to actually do the presentation.
Okay.
For the last year, we've been talking about creation of a tax increment reinvestment zone that can help fund some of our projects in our downtown area. And so staff has been working for the last several months with the consultant, Larry Klein, on what it takes to create the zone and come up with a boundary that we think will earn the funds needed to reinvest in our downtown. And so with that, I'm going to introduce Larry.
Okay.
He's going to cover this for us.
Thank you. I'm Larry Klein. Larry Klein Consulting with Richards, Texas. Before I talk about this specific reinvestment zone we're here to talk about tonight, I thought I might talk a little bit about just tax increment financing in general, if that's okay. As Carla mentioned, it's a mechanism to finance new public improvements in a designated area in order to stimulate new private investment. Tax increment financing was established in Texas in 1981, and it's governed by state statute. That's Chapter 311 of the Texas Tax Code. The way it works is any increase in the ad valorem tax revenue caused by new private investment and higher land values is paid into a special TIF fund used to finance public projects in the zone. Any increase in personal property and inventory and sales tax revenue will continue to go to each taxing jurisdiction, so that the tax increment reinvestment zone does not capture anything except ad valorem tax. Business personal property and inventory and sales tax continue to go to the taxing jurisdictions just like they do now. Some benefits. It doesn't invade the revenue currently going to the general fund of the city. So when the tax increment financing zone is created, the base tax value on the area that's in the TIF zone, the base tax value is set at that amount. And then the revenue from that amount continues to go to all the taxing jurisdictions just like it does now. So you're not taking anything that the city and the other taxing jurisdictions get at the moment. It doesn't involve any additional or increased taxes on existing or new development. So a property owner continues to pay their normal property tax on the property just like they do now. And so it's really invisible to the individual property owner. It doesn't also involve the forgiveness of taxes, so it's not like a tax abatement. So you don't face that. So as I said, it typically captures only taxes on real property, which is land and buildings, and not business personal property and inventory or sales tax. It's a commitment for a period of years. So if you create the tax increment financing district, you create that for a period of years, and then income to that continues to go until the tax increment financing district is collapsed or runs out in the period of time. A TIF district can be initiated by the municipality, which is what we're doing tonight. It covers and can pay for public works, public improvements, those kinds of things. It covers several other things, financing costs and relocation costs and other things, but mostly it's spent on public infrastructure, streets, utilities, street lights, those kinds of things. The TIF, or Tax Increment Financing Zone, is managed by the City Council with advice from a board of directors. The board is appointed by the participating taxing jurisdictions, but it's only a recommending board. So the final approval authority continues to rest with the City Council. So the board reviews projects, brings those back to the council, and then the council has final approval authority for that. That is just a real quick overview of tax increment financing districts. Any questions anybody has? Okay.
Go over the things that this money can be used for. Is it purely public? Is it sidewalks and streets? Are there any money can go to facade on private buildings or not?
And yeah. If you create an area that covers the facades, then it can be used for facade improvements. So you can use it for that. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
How many people would we appoint to the board?
What we're suggesting is a 5-person board. It can be anywhere from 5 to 15, but I've always found that the fewer you have on that board, the better it works.
And the board recommends how the money would be spent when we have money.
The board recommends that, brings it back to the council, and the council has approval authority.
Yeah, you said it's taxes on buildings and
land. Correct.
Again, the land already exists. How will the land? Would it be an increase in the value of the land?
Yeah, right. Okay. As you go through time, if the value of the land increases, then the increment between what it was January 1 of 2019, when we would create this, then anything above that in the way of value increase would go into the TIF fund.
So if the building increases in value, that would have the same effect?
Correct.
Okay.
So it doesn't invade what's already there. It's only in new value.
So if our Lamar County appraiser has already said taxes will go up 8% next year, 8% of what a building A in one of those districts, 8% would go into this account?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
That would only be on the city tax rate.
This is only on the city,
So that'd
correct.
be on a 51.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Those are great questions. Thank you.
Anything else?
All right. Now let's talk about the preliminary project and finance plan. I think it's in your packet, but it looks like this. So if I may, let me just walk through this in the introduction portion of it. Let me just hit some highlights as we go through this. I won't bore you with reading the entire document. But in section 1.2, I wanted to point out that the area is eligible under the Act if the area arrests or impairs the sound growth of the city because the zone is predominantly open and undeveloped and has the need for public infrastructure. And I think as you see the proposed boundary that we're suggesting, there is a huge amount of undeveloped property in that does need public infrastructure. In section 1.3, the zone will include approximately 2,176 acres, all of which is located within the city's corporate limits. Now, a TIF can be established within the city's corporate limits or within the ETJ, but this one is all within the corporate limits. In section 1.4, before the city may adopt an ordinance designating the zone, the city council must prepare a preliminary reinvestment zone financing plan in accordance with the act and hold a public hearing on the creation of the proposed zone and its benefits to the city. And that's what we're here to review tonight. In section 1.5, upon the closing of the above referenced public hearing, the city council may adopt an ordinance in accordance with the act creating the zone. The ordinance creating the zone will provide for the appointment of a board of directors for the zone consisting, and we're suggesting 5 members from the city, which would be the board. In section 1.6, after creation of the zone, the board will review the preliminary plan and approve and recommend to the city council a final reinvestment zone number 1, City of Paris, Texas project and finance plan, pursuant to which the city will contribute 50% of its ad valorem tax increment attributable to the increased taxable value of existing and new development in the zone into a tax increment fund created by the city. So the board, if the preliminary project plan and the ordinance is approved tonight and you appoint a board at some future time, then we'll come back to the board, again, review this preliminary project and finance plan with the board. And then once the board is satisfied with that, then they'll bring it back to the council for final approval. Everybody understand that one? Then 1.7, the city council, taking into consideration the recommendations of the board, will consider approval of the final plan. Then in section 6.1, the list of public improvements that are proposed to be financed are shown in Exhibit C, which we'll look at as we continue. The total maximum project costs are $25.5 million in the project plan. And I want to point out that these costs in the project plan at this point are more than the projected TERS income, but projects will only be completed to the limit of the TERS income. So the public project costs that we have in the plan are $25.5 million. We're projecting $14.7 million into the TERS fund. So the public improvement projects will only be funded up to the level of the TERS fund value. So if the TERS is more successful than we've projected and we get more income into the TERS fund, then more of the project plan projects will be completed. If we just get to the $14.7 million, then that's all we'll do in the way of public projects during this 30-year value. In Section 9, the economic feasibility has been evaluated, a copy of which is attached as Exhibit C, and we'll go through that tonight. And as I mentioned, the study projected the potential development at build-out within the zone to be $390.7 million. That's the new improvement value that we project over the 30-year time period would come into the TIF fund. During the term of the zone, the increase in value of new development that occurs in the zone will generate approximately $29.4 million for the city, $14.7 million of which would go into the TERS fund, $14.7 million would come to the city for your use. The current total appraised value of taxable real property in the zone as of January 1 of 2019 is approximately $52.8 million. It is estimated that upon expiration of the term of the zone, the total appraised value of taxable real property in the zone will be approximately $443.5 million. So we're projecting to go from $52.8 million to $443.5 million in the zone. The term of the zone shall commence January 1 of this year, 2019, and continue until the earlier to occur of December 31, 2048, which is a 30-year term, or secondly, the date at which all project costs bonds, or other obligations have been paid in full. So when this is created, for the term of 30 years, we'll go through that time period, and at the end of that time period, then the TERS will collapse. Prior to that time, if the city chooses to collapse the tax increment reinvestment zone, they can do so as long as there is no debt. If there is no debt, then the city at any time in the next 30 years could vote to eliminate the tax increment reinvestment zone. Okay. Any questions with all of that? That's a lot to understand.
The 25.5 million in estimated potential project costs, can you elaborate what that involves and what y'all are projecting?
We will look at that when we get to Exhibit D of this, okay?
I have a comment. You're referring to a document that you think we have?
We don't have that.
We don't
Oh, you
have
do
that
not?
document.
I've not
Oh, I
seen that,
understood
but I
it
would-
was in your packet. I'm sorry.
All I have in my packet is boundary descriptions that I think
Yeah.
somebody made, and that's
Hmm?
it.
I wish I
So,
had that, but I don't.
When you refer to exhibits, sir, we can't see those.
Okay.
I have a map. That's the only
Okay.
other thing I have
Do
besides.
you have
I
copies
would
of
be
that?
happy to go get a copy of that. That was inadvertent. I put the ordinance along with the attachments to the ordinance in your packet, and I think that was a miscommunication between.
I can make copies real quickly for y'all.
That would be helpful, but
Yeah, that would be really helpful.
I
if
would
you
have liked to have looked over that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I understood that was in your packet.
Yeah.
So you were operating blindly.
Yeah, we're listening real carefully to what you're having to say, but I wish I
Good.
had.
On the,
Yeah.
on the increment, on the ad valorem, the increment that you're saying.
Yes, sir.
So we would take 50% of that increment,
That's correct.
and that would go into that account.
That would
per
go
se.
into the TERS fund. The rest of it would come to the
Would
city.
that fund be could it be interest bearing or being in?
Depends on what the city does with it. I assume it would be, but
Okay.
depending on what you
I
normally
didn't know if it
do.
had been like a non-interest bearing
Yeah.
account or how they set that up.
Is the 50% set by statute, or is that
No.
something,
No, that's something you choose to do.
and what are the range we can pick from?
Yep, anywhere from 0 to 100. You know,
We could, so, and on the 50%, say if we did it 15%, in 30 years, everything goes the way it's supposed to go, we'd have 14.7 million in that fund. In 15 years, could we spend 3 million out of it if we wanted to, or do you have to?
Sure.
Okay.
No, you don't have to wait till the end of the 30 years to spend money. As
And
long as
could-
you have
could
money
that
in the
money-
fund, you can spend it.
Could that money possibly be paired with, if we were wanting to buy some property or do some things to set up for a business or entity that may be coming to town that we needed to run a sewer line to them, or we needed to help
You bet. You
fix
bet.
railroad, or?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure, that's what it's supposed to be for.
perfect.
Is there some reason we selected the 50%? What was the rationale for that? I know we had to have our reasons, but I was just wondering.
I think we set on that some time ago. We didn't want to take 100% of the increment out of the general fund because general fund needs increase as well.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to take all your money away. Actually, when I first started doing this, and I've been doing this for 20 years or so, I guess, and I've done probably 50 around the state. When we first started doing this, all the taxing jurisdictions would put 100% of their tax value in it. And as we went through time, we learned that really wasn't the right thing to do, and that the taxing jurisdictions ought to hold back some of their tax increment or tax rate to go into their general fund.
Okay. The zone where this can be spent, how is that defined, or is that defined in the
It's
paper that we don't
defined
have?
in the boundary map that you'll see, right?
Could you summarize that for us? What is that on this map here? Could you?
We have a boundary
Yeah.
map in our thing.
Yeah, if you're looking at the map, it can be spent in those areas that we've outlined in that map.
The pink area, or can you spend
all of
anywhere
it.
in the entire zone? Okay. Okay.
Anywhere in the zone, correct.
The colors just
Yeah.
designate a different area.
So there's no specific subset of the tax increment
No, sir.
reinvestment zone?
No, sir.
that the-
No, the money that goes into the fund can be spent anywhere within the zone.
Okay.
I believe when we initially started talking about this several months ago, this was specifically talked about to help us with the downtown
And that's
project.
exactly the point of my question,
Yeah,
was
that-
whether this,
That's going to be the thrust of this, yes. What we're hoping to do is create money that goes into the TERS fund from other areas within the city, and then use that to fund projects in the downtown area.
okay. Dr. O'Brien, did you have a question, or?
I know it's worth 1,000 words, but we're gonna need some of those 1,000 words. We can't see that. Is the zone the red outline, or is it the color?
No, the zone is those that are.
There's
in
green,
yellow.
blue,
Yeah.
red,
Blue,
orange, and yellow.
Orange, yellow.
So those are considered collectively the zone.
That's the zone, correct.
Yeah, it's a big gerrymandered thing. All of those are, and they have to be connected, correct?
Correct, that's
So
correct.
Some of the strips are a road that connects it, but they're all
Right.
have to be contiguous.
Exactly.
Yeah, the reason it looks so strange is if you limited it to the downtown area, which is where most of the money's gonna be spent, it wouldn't generate enough money
Yeah.
to do what you wanted to do. So you expand the zone and its development takes place in the other, it's turned around, it can still be focused to downtown, and that's primarily where it's all gonna go.
Well,
but-
now it can go for other areas too, right?
It could go for
Can
other
go
areas.
in any of those areas, yes,
Within those
ma'am.
different areas.
Within any of
yeah.
those highlighted colored areas, it could go.
Okay.
Correct.
Like the new Southwest Industrial Park, is that the new one out close to,
So the American Spiral Weld Company will be
That's
included
that's in the zone.
increment?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I had a question. In your expertise, do you think 50% is a good amount? or do you
I think
it
that's
needs to be
I think that's a
lower
good
or
number.
higher?
No, I think that's a good number.
That's good, okay.
Yeah, as I said, taxing jurisdictions usually just automatically put 100% in, and we don't think that's the right thing to do.
Okay.
I know you didn't do it, I didn't, my finger did.
I'm following it, and I feel
Okay,
comfortable
yeah, let's
with
keep
it.
going with questions. We got plenty of
But
time.
can we table this tonight and not, I don't feel comfortable
I'm-
voting
I'm
on
the
it tonight
same
just 'cause
way.
I wanna see the full.
This is
I
a
wanna
really
read through
big deal,
everything.
and
yeah.
this is a lot of information that really we should have had before tonight. We can talk some more about it, but
While
I'm
he's here, I mean, I wanna, if anybody else has got any questions while we're here, this is good for
Sure.
everybody to understand a little bit, but I wanna look at the agreement before and really study on it before we pull the trigger on something, I would think, if everybody else agrees.
yeah.
We've already approved it, but we're just finalizing it and
Right.
setting it all up.
What is it
Right.
that we
No,
officially
I'm-
are doing tonight? Approval of an ordinance adopting reinvestment zone number 1 preliminary project. What is it we're officially doing tonight if we do it?
You're actually creating the zone, which you'd have to do in this calendar year in order to set the base is 1/1/19. And you're approving some preliminary projects that are outlined in there that can be changed, by the board and the council, or the board can recommend changes. The council has the final say in that. There's no reason I don't think we couldn't put it off to the next meeting.
But on the other hand, if there's nothing controversial about this and we're all in favor of creating this zone, I mean, if we have complete control over, as a council, over what the money's spent on or the project, and we can amend that as needed, perhaps we can pass this tonight even
Yeah.
kind of in the
Yeah,
dark.
you-
We can
do-
change any of the schematics of the project, except for the actual
Yeah.
zone
The
itself.
zone itself is going to be written in stone when we pass it tonight,
No,
I
no,
suppose you could amend
it
it.
is not.
Amend it.
so we can even amend the zone if it's not right.
You can amend
do
this.
need to have a public hearing that was published for tonight. So we
Yeah.
either need to open it and hold it open, or we would have to,
Let's go ahead and open the public hearing right now, so while we're waiting for the information to be printed up for us, if that's all right. And if it'll get you to step back down,
Okay,
and we'll
sure.
open the public hearing for just a minute. There may
Okay.
not be anybody come up. But the public hearing is now open. Anyone wishing to address the council about this, please come up.
If you open it and someone talks, can y'all keep it open?
Yeah, we can, yeah.
I had a few questions based on what he said so far. I'm sure there'll be more. And maybe you're going to need to answer this, sir. You talked about the fund with the TIF fund when it shuts down, the project shuts down, if there's no debt in that fund. Is that for the entire city or just for that project? Just for the zones. As long as there's no been debt accrued in any of the zones or that zone, then it can be.
One zone.
Okay, yeah, gotcha. Subzones.
It's broken up into 5 major areas, but there's only one zone.
Okay.
And if there's no debt in that zone, then the TIF can be collapsed.
Okay. And then I had another question. We talked about the 50%. It sounded like there were some questions regarding that 50% and the projections of what the amount of income that it may generate. Can the board of directors and the city change that tax rate as they go along? So if they see we're not doing as well as we projected, that we can increase it to 51% or
Good, yes, sir.
or decrease it?
This is a really flexible tool.
Okay.
And as we go through time, you can change the list of projects that are in there, and you can expand the zone, decrease the zone, change the time frame, where we're projecting 30 years, but you can change that
Okay.
if you choose to do it. So it's a really flexible tool
Okay.
that the council can control as they go through time.
Thank you. That helps me. Forgive my ignorance on this subject. Something new to me. I appreciate that. And then I had you had mentioned too about the board. You said it could be many members. You recommended 5, and it was composed of members of the city.
If you step up to the microphone when you answer the questions, it'll be on the record, so everybody that reviews this can hear it.
My thoughts were, since this involves the city and the taxpayers, is maybe consider expanding that board to 7 members, including 2 private citizens, along with people from the city.
Any of the 5 can be private citizens.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to make sure. I just thought you had referenced something to being people that had worked for, or that were working or employed by the city.
Doesn't necessarily have to
Okay.
be. No, sir.
Wonderful.
No.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I had a question also, with
Sure.
public hearing still open, but you mentioned that assuming it doesn't have debt, when you said that assumes then that the TIRZ would be able to borrow money that it didn't own, and
Could borrow money, yes, sir.
for a project with
Right.
anticipated revenue coming in,
Right.
if they needed to get going.
Yeah,
Okay.
you could borrow money and then use the income from that project to pay the debt service on the bonds, if you choose to do that.
Okay. Okay, the public hearing's still open. Yes, sir, please step up.
Skipper Steely. So we're saying that we're gonna collect money from 8 or 10 different areas that'll be considered one zone?
5, right.
And our original thought was to just do it in the brown zone or the historical district. How are we gonna get over the argument that we wanna spend it out here in green versus the pink, and then I wanna spend it over here in the yellow?
Well, that's the council's prerogative.
So we need
Council
to make
controls all of
sure
that.
that the board is made up of a person from each one of our districts, right? So
Well,
we'll be able to defend our area.
I'm assuming the major purpose of this was to spend it for downtown development, and I thought that would be the focus of it. I don't think it would be necessarily important to have someone from each of the individual areas, rather than,
I never envisioned the district to cover a whole bunch of different areas where I can see a whole bunch of people wanting their project out there. When I thought the whole thing to do with the TIF was to redo our 190 buildings downtown.
and I'm assuming that's what the council
That's still the
would,
focus, yes, sir.
would expect, and would put people on the board that would have that focus as well.
Well, I think we're stepping into dangerous territory by spreading it out that much.
Well, you have to get income from somewhere to do the projects downtown.
We
Yeah.
currently
If
have
you-
money from all over the city limits that goes to downtown renovation, so this is just a little added.
Skipper, I agree with you, but I
hope
think,
you're right.
again, this is apparently the way it has to be done by the law,
Well,
but everybody's goal here is to get
I don't know what the
downtown.
law says, but that's not what we studied earlier, with other TIFs, but good luck.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, public hearing's still open. Anyone come on up, talk?
Well, I probably don't have to because I think you guys are probably as excited about this as I am, but I do want to speak in favor of this on the record.
I just wish we'd done this 30 years ago.
That's what a lot of cities say. But
You know,
it really is a good tool.
And Sulphur Springs had this quite a few years ago, and it's one of the reasons they had the money to do what they did with their downtown. Okay, public hearing's still open. Anyone wishing to come up, please come up. Give us your name and address, and you're welcome to talk.
Yeah, I'm Richard Thompson. I'm going to agree with this guy here. You're going to start a war here because even on the west side came through and put in handicap ramps, but didn't put in sidewalks. So you're going to finish projects when you say you're going to do all this? Are you going to finish the downtown?
We're going to do as much as we can.
Till you run out of money. But we're not going to skip around because I can see a bunch of projects getting started and not finished if it's that big a district. That would be my concern.
Yeah, that's what the board and the council is supposed to control.
Okay, getting them completed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
My name's Brandon Del Toro. I'm just curious to know, why is it that they chose the specific areas that they did that they're going to be pulling the money from?
We felt like those were areas of potential development that we could use then to collect money into the TIF fund. We felt like that just relying on only doing the downtown area, it was going to take forever to get any kind of income into the TIF fund. So we needed to get some funds from other areas to put into the downtown area.
All right, and we're still open on the, you wishing to talk on the public?
I'll just add to that a little bit. We've included the Northwest Industrial Park, which currently has construction of American Spiral Weld, which will increase over time. We've got the Southwest Industrial Park, which the EDC, it's mostly vacant land today, but they have hopes of developing that. So those are two projects that another entity is already working to develop. And then the south and the north pieces are too. They have vacant developable parcels, and we thought that those would be a good way to get the most money the fastest so that we could support projects in downtown.
Okay. Go ahead, Dr. O'Brien, come on up.
Maybe an obvious question or have an obvious answer. Why not just include the whole city?
Yeah, you can't do that.
Or exclude a small, is there a percentage amount that can only be included of the entire area? Okay. Because my thought is there's other areas where there's potential. My guess is that the idea is these have the most potential for growth and thus the largest ROI, if you will, based on what we project them being developed and being increased taxes. Well, there's other areas as well, were my thoughts, but you've been doing this for a while. I trust the judgment.
So what was the answer to that question on the microphone there?
Yeah.
Why is it by the statute that you're required to explain that to us?
Yeah, there's only so much. You can't have, there's a limit on the amount of tax value you can have in the TIF zone. It's 30% of the tax value in the city is all you can have.
Okay.
And this, what we've selected only has about 2 or 3% of the tax value of the city.
So it could be a lot larger
huge,
than
huge
this.
growth potential.
But it could be a lot larger than this then if we chose to. But
Could
it
be,
would take
could
more
be.
money, take more money potentially from the city.
Right, yeah, it would.
Residential wouldn't generate as much.
Wouldn't.
Residential would not generate as much as commercial or industrial.
Well, that's debatable, I think. It's questionable. I think residential areas typically, cost more money for the city. And so you want to keep money in your general fund in order to do that. But I did a district in Grand Prairie that was all residential, and it probably has $750 million of value in it right now. So residential can add up too.
So I'm assuming taxes, obviously, that are abated for new industries coming in, that money would not be available, correct?
That's correct, yeah. So you need to be careful if we create the TIF that you don't do a lot of tax abatement because that just takes money away from the TIF. So you rob Peter to pay Paul. Okay. Any other questions? Comments?
I feel comfortable with it, but I'd still rather table it to a vote to
I
the
mean,
next
that's fine
time or
with
the
me.
time.
As
I
long as-
want to read through this and think through it. And,
Yeah,
and-
as long as we're not gonna run into any time crunch by
No,
before the end of the year.
time
correct?
crunch is just the end of the year.
So there's no
We'd
huge
like-
rush.
Yeah, we'd
I'm-
like to
I'm
create
in
it
favor of
before the
tabling.
end.
I mean, we
of
can
the
do
year.
it next meeting if,
Yeah,
or
after we've looked at it some and
Sure.
asked some more
Fine.
questions.
And Mr. Klein, I have a question for
Sure.
you. Having had a public hearing tonight, do we need to hold that open?
Just hold it open, right?
Okay.
So we'll hold that open. Any other discussion on this? You want to make a motion to table it there?
make a motion to table this until our next meeting or until we publicize for the next meeting.
Yeah, I'll second that. All in favor of tabling this? Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 15, discuss, conduct a public hearing and act on an ordinance regarding the petition of Mike Davidson and Kenneth Doherty for a change in zoning from a two-family dwelling district to a multiple-family dwelling district, number 1, MF1, in the city of Paris, block 112B, lots 8 and 9, located in the 600 block of Southeast 12th Street. Ms. Easton.
Mike Davidson and Kenny Doherty are looking to build a number of duplexes on their 2-acre property here on 12th Street. In order to build more than one, the existing zoning is 2F, and so a duplex is appropriate for the area, but to build 8 or 10 of them, it would require multifamily zoning. Their intent with that is to be able to treat it kind of like a complex with a master meter and not have to extend public utilities in a street through that property. Zoning, can you maybe go to the next slide? The adjacent zoning, it's all 2F in this area, so a zoning change would not be appropriate per planning principles. Staff recommended denial, and there were a number of neighbors that showed up in opposition to this, so planning and zoning also.
P and Z, what was their?
They voted
unanimous
yeah,
to
4
deny
to
also?
0 to deny. So.
All right. Any questions or discussion on this?
Mr.
Oh,
Mayor, you don't have enough council members here to override the P and Z denial. It requires a 3/4 vote.
But we can confirm it, correct? We can confirm their denial.
Yes, you
Okay,
can.
so if we decide to pass this, well, let's have a discussion first, okay? What's my inclination would be to deny this as well. Anybody strongly wanting to approve this?
If you're going to act on it, rather than table it, you will need a public hearing.
Yeah, okay.
I like to be able to go with P and Z
Yeah.
when
Let's go ahead and go.
I agree.
Let's go ahead and open the public hearing on this. Oh, public hearing is now open.
I'm at 65112 Southeast, right next door to this empty lot. We mentioned earlier with the other issues, the traffic. I already have housing, HUD housing behind us, and the noise levels between that and the 2 parks that are sitting back there are enormous. The traffic alone, now they've already broke ground for 2 duplexes right there on that lot. On your average, you're looking at 2 cars per household. You just added 8 cars right next door to my house. With the traffic being as it is, as bad as the drainage is, and everything else, this would be wrong to change the zone.
It's
And,
currently zoned 2F, so it's,
Correct.
they could
Correct.
put duplexes on it right now if,
well,
without
they-
even
they've
a
already-
zoning
they-
change.
They've already broke ground for
But the
that. to change the
MF1
zone,
would be
to add
substantially more. Yeah, so, yeah.
That I oppose.
Okay. So that's what we're discussing here. So the
Right.
MF1 you're in opposition to. Okay.
Right, you're right. And I'm opposing adding more than what they're already doing now. I
Gotcha.
understand that part.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but what they've already broke ground for now, on your average household, you just added 8 more vehicles.
Yeah.
And the traffic there and the speeds and everything else, I mean, it's getting bad.
Right.
So to add more duplexes on top of that would be even worse. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, I'm Luana Ballard, and I will be living across the street from this. And you come down that street, you don't see any duplexes till you get right in the middle. There is one little section of that, but it's mostly homeowners, and a lot more people showed up a few weeks ago that were against this. And I'm against it for a bunch of reasons. You know, the traffic and the noise and the crime, and I don't think the police have enough policemen to secure the area and patrol it like they should. And we've got that housing on 13th, and there's always shooting guns, you know, and there's a lot of foot traffic also, and I just don't think it'd be a good idea to make it a multi, you know, I know we can't do nothing about, you know, a single. I wish it was just a home going up there, but that's the way people are going now to make their money, is when they get older, to build duplexes, and I hope they rent them out to good people and not Section 8 or HUD. You know, there might be some good people with HUD and Section 8, but, you know, I just don't want a bunch of trash and noise and all that. But, all right, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to talk in favor or in opposition to this? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. I think it's pretty straightforward, at least in my viewpoint. Duplexes can already be built here, but by making this zoning change, we allow them to build them without subdividing the property, and would make it, you know, I see no reason to approve this. So it's already 2F, there'd be no reason to go MF1. On top of that, MF1 would allow a multi-story apartment complex, which nobody would want there. So I'm in favor of opposing. I'm opposing this. If there's a strong opinion on the council to approve this, then we need to table it till we have everybody here.
I'm like-minded, Mayor.
Okay. All right, I think same way. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and have a vote on this then. I make a motion that we deny this zoning change.
Second.
All in favor? We got it. Okay. Thank you. Item number 16, discuss, conduct a public hearing, and act on an ordinance regarding the petition of Skylar Birchenall for a change in zoning from a two-family district 2F to a multifamily dwelling district number 1, MF1, in the city of Paris, block 227-C, lots 1, 1A, and 1B, located in the 1900 block of East Booth Street. Ms. Easton.
Skylar Birchenall is proposing to build an apartment complex at the corner of Booth and 17th. 19th. I'm sorry. And it's 0.9 acres. He's planning to kind of mirror the other apartment complex there to the west. The east. Existing zoning in the area. There's several multifamily units already, and one recently approved quadplex over on 20th Street. So this is really in that transition zone where there's single family to the north of Tudor, and then as you move further south, there's a number of multifamily apartment type units. Staff is in support of this, and the Planning and Zoning Commission also recommended approval.
Was it unanimous there?
It was 4-0. There were a couple of people who were present at the meeting who expressed concerns for drainage. I believe they're here tonight and may speak, but again, that will all have to be approved during the development process, and see how they can detain any increase in that runoff as a part of the development. I'm sorry.
Can't hear you.
There were a number of drainage concerns, and that will have to be addressed during the development process if this is approved.
Those will be addressed with plating and everything. And
well, we will make them consider the detention requirements on this property only. I believe some of the issues that are of concern are for the whole drainage basin, going all the way down to Buttermilk Creek. And so I think you'll hear that tonight, but those will not be considered on this development. Again, this is 0.9 acres in a 160 acre drainage basin just north of Lamar. And so they will not be able to address the overall drainage issue in this drainage basin. There are some localized drainage improvements that we could work out with the developer to make sure that there's not any localized increase on Booth Street, but in general, large rain events in this area of town do sometimes cause some localized flooding of the intersections until the storm passes.
so you'll see to it this doesn't contribute to the problem, but they're still going to have a problem, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think the problem is an existing situation of our drainage basin.
Okay. All right, I'll open the public hearing for this. It's now open. People wishing to speak for or against this, please step forward. Name and address, and you'll be welcome to talk.
I'm Judy Malone, and I live at 1975 East Cherry. 4 of us spoke against this project at the Planning and Zoning meeting. It was approved unanimously over any objections that we had. There was no one that spoke for it, but there were some considerations that I would like the council to take into consideration before this is approved. In order to save time, I think I emailed to you some information that I thought would help us move along here, because historically, this area has produced a lot of runoff because of the lay of the land. It has historically had a creek that run through it, and it now that creek now doesn't know that it's become a ditch, and it's as it takes off from the corner of Cherry and 20th, it moves down Cherry and across the city, across the southeast part of the city, and has created a lot of damage, a lot of traffic problems, and the water itself is a prime concern. In that area, since I live in it, we're not against better looking property. We're not against housing that is solid and clean and neat. However, this is an older neighborhood that has many single-family dwellings. The people that are in them either are the people that bought them, have owned them, or their children, or they have been, when somebody dies off, they've been turned into rental property. The rental property gets to looking pretty ragged pretty quickly, and that needs to be addressed with that other. I think y'all got another ordinance a few months back about landlords having to paint and keep up a building. Did that go through? I know I was here when you were talking about it. So if that went through, the rental property could be handled by enforcement of that particular ordinance, which would cause people that have let their rental property go down. It could cause them to, bring that up to standard. The elderly people that own those little houses are sitting in small homes on great big lots. When that place was platted, those lots are 180 feet deep. Mine is 180 feet deep. Some of them are 70, some of them are 50, some of them are 75 foot wide. But they form a lot of lawn that soaks up a lot of water. And I think it's very important that be maintained. Now, in the section from 19th Street to 20th Street, which we're discussing, bordered by Tudor and Booth, there are already 5 apartment complexes. One of them is a 2-story. There are 2 duplexes that face Tudor Street, built by Barney Bray several years ago. And then there's this lot. And one of those, that 2-story apartment complex is right in the center. It's paved completely around. And it produces a lot of runoff. The apartment built on the south side of Booth at 20th is a 2-story apartment complex. I don't know how it got past the planning committee, because there is no lawn in front. There's a little bit on one side on 20th. The backyard is 8 foot wide with a concrete embankment that has that apartment much higher than the 2 houses that are on 20th, which are single-family dwellings. One is owned and one is a rental. There's an alley that goes through from 19th through to 20th, and that was the route of that old creek. I think we looked that up, didn't we? I think historically it was called Click Creek. My house was built in 1906. Mr. Albright, William C. Albright, was the original owner. He built that house in 1906. He was a millwright. All the woodwork that's in these houses on Church Street and all over town was cut right there. He didn't have electricity or water or gas. He had a creek that went through there that drove his mill works. That's why east of us it's called Pine Mill. And that's why the street up above that is Pine Bluff, because during the times of World War I and World War II, those pines were all cut. The pine was brought from up 20th Street to his millwright, and they built those houses. Camp Maxey caused those houses to be built. Those little ones on my street were rental houses for Camp Maxey. 20th Street is the old National Road. It's the route of the road that come across the Red River when Texas was being developed, down through Fought and 195 and all that area. 195 is the route. It comes into Paris on 20th Street. It goes down to Lamar Avenue, and then it shoots over to Fort Leidy out in Fannin County. And so historically, that's been a route. Historically, it has got several creeks that crossed it. When you are coming in, before you make the turn, there's a creek that goes, that's the headwaters of Cuthand Creek in Red River County. When Paris burned in 1916, my house didn't burn. It was far enough out. And Mr. Albright and other developers filled in the creek, made that 19th to 20th Street alley, and then developed those big long lots and put houses on them. And it was a nice neighborhood. Over the years, my neighbors, the Cavendishes, the Wilsons, those folks have died. And I'm the second owner of my house, and I have not died yet. But nevertheless, the neighborhood has a historical significance. But the main thing is the social reason. The social reason is that the smaller homes that are owned and kept should be preserved. Now, we need to take in consideration those people's wishes, because right there on the corner of 19th and Booth is Mr. Jenkins. He's a preacher. He's lived there a good long while, and he has a big lot, 180 foot double wide, and it absorbs the water that rushes down. The lay of this land is that from 17th Street down through 19th to 20th is the way the water runs. So all the water runs off of those streets up there. So it's primarily an impact when anything goes in there that covers that sponge effect of those big lots. Going down 19th Street, the ditches are beginning to scoop out. Now, you guys got to hear me about my big ditch over and over, that big nasty ditch. It's been covered, it's been curbed and guttered, it's beautiful. Except the water doesn't know it has to stop. It has eaten out behind the curb because of the strength of the water coming down Cherry Street, coming off of Tudor and Booth, and down 20th Street to that low area. I didn't know I was the low area in the place, but I've been in a lot of low places. But this is a real low place physically. Underneath the intersection there is a gigantic holding tank, holding whatever you call it. And my kids used to crawl up under there. It's that big. And it evidently was designed to hold this water that the city knew, people previous to you in their planning knew was going to be coming there. So it fills that, but it's not enough. The water flow from 17th down Cherry, Booth, and Tudor push much more water than can be handled under that drainage situation at the corner of 20th and Cherry. Other people in that area, for example, Kyle Street comes off of 20th and makes that little loop, you know, where Dos Marias is. And there's this little subdivision there built God knows when, but it's in a real bad spot because the water comes down Pine Bluff Street. There's no drains underground from 17th Street to 20th on that beautiful improvement on Pine Bluff Street. The street itself is the viaduct or the water duct, whatever. And it hits 20th, it splits, it goes down to Price, and it goes into that Kyle addition. I have a statement by Kimberly Tatar, who is so unlucky to have bought the house that's right in the corner of that curved street. The street goes from 20th, it curves to Cherry. She's right in the corner. Her property has what her family called the ditch creek for many years, and it has flooded her.
Yeah.
Now I know we're supposed to address just.
I'm going to have to, ask you to wrap it up, but I understand there's flooding problems in that area, and unfortunately, we're not going to be able to. They're still going to be there regardless of what we do. But if you could,
if we have a moratorium on building more and more apartment complexes, because that block there, 19th to 20th, Tudor to Cherry, is going to be mostly paved, the entire section. It's going to be like Bellcrest. I don't know who allowed all of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Bellcrest to go in on Price, but that is almost totally paved, and that's what builds up and floods 24th and Lamar. Now, if we don't want to address this drainage all the way across the city, and I did a map. Google is not going to hire me to do maps, I know, but this map shows the drainage. It shows who it impacts. When the notice was sent out, it was sent 200 feet around. That's not the area that is impacted by that water. That water impacts many other places. Now, we can keep ignoring it. We can keep ignoring it and putting more and more multifamily dwellings up. And we are going to create an inner city problem, which is going to make the inner city uninhabitable. So I could carry on because I can carry on.
I've let you talk because I know you have a passion for it, and I appreciate it, but we're going to have to move on.
It's not a passion,
well,
it's a work.
It's important to you, I understand.
And it's something that impacts many people. So I'll sit down and let some of the people that it impacts speak.
All right,
Okay?
thank you.
If anyone wants to see what was submitted, I've got the copy of it.
Anyone else wishing to address council regarding this issue?
My name's Brandon Del Toro, and I pretty much can echo what Judy said. I'd like to submit this to the council and request that we play it. It's a recording of the backside of my property. This was done 3 years ago. It gets worse. The water is worse, much worse now than it was back then. I understand you guys are going to want to play it.
Well, again, certainly I can acknowledge there's flooding problems there, but this is one small piece of property
Right.
that we're talking about that would have to go through a platting process, that would
Exactly.
have to make sure it wouldn't contribute to the problem. But
and
whether
it-
we approve this or don't approve this, there's still going to be flooding problems there.
Understood. But every little increment of water that isn't accounted for does contribute to my property.
The
So
city engineer is going to have to make sure.
that's fine, and that was discussed at the planning meeting, the one they had 2 weeks ago. That's fine. I want to make sure that's taken into account. We were told that, indeed, that when it was developed as part of the plat, that they would make sure that there was enough water holding area so that there wasn't runoff. My biggest concern, obviously, long term, is that the small increments that aren't taken into account are contributing to this. I can see your point that yes. Indeed, there's going to have to be some other time or some other discussion as to the longevity, or the long-term solution of the problem. But I wanted to make my point and say yes, this actually does affect me as well. So,
All right.
okay.
I'm Skylar Burchnell. I'm the one that's going to be developing this area. I do have a large respect for the Cherry Street area that Ms. Malone was talking about, because I do own 1948 East Cherry, 1958 East Cherry, and 1968 East Cherry, which is directly in front of her house. And they're the smaller houses that we rent out that she's talking about. Obviously, I don't want to flood my own houses out, and we own the property that's mirrored image that next to it onto the east side that the apartments are already on. So obviously, the good thing about development is we can create watershed, working with the city engineer to try to make that water that was going across that property to go where we need it to go and not have any control over it, which we don't now, being a vacant piece of property. So that's the good thing about development, that we'll work closely with the engineer to see which way we need to face that water and which way we need to push it and how fast we need to push it. So that's the benefit of developing a piece of property. And the dentist that has a problem, I've actually seen his property. I've owned 2401, which is right next door. Even though I didn't have a problem with flooding, I did see that his property did. That's a long way away from here. I don't think that my development would have any problem. I mean, I think the problem that he's seeing is a problem throughout the drainage, and not just future development is going to add to it. That's going to be a city issue on down the road. So obviously I'm in favor of this, and I do have respect for the area because I have a large amount of property in the area. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to come up, please speak.
I'm Skipper Steele, and my mother lives at the Shigoda Apartments, and been there since 1996, I believe. And so don't kid yourself that this isn't causing a big problem. I've sat in her front porch many times during storms. And during the last storm, the water was almost over the creek at Cherry in front of the old Cherry Street Annex. Now, if something's put on it, there'll be even more water coming in. There's a ton of water coming through Shigoda right now from the apartments below the water tower, more than ever before. So I don't know what's going on to cause all that to come through there quicker. But you're up to the limit to the northwest of Wade Park, and it's going through Wade Park pretty fast. So by the time it hits the dental office on 24th and Lamar, I don't see how you're going to get over the problem there without major changes in the future. So the problem is there. It'll be getting worse. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and open this up for council discussion.
I have a question for Carla. Technically, this is inconsistent with the future land use plan, but what makes this zoning any different? Because it is inconsistent with the plan.
That's right. I think this is an area where the future land use, in review of that, we failed to see how several of these properties have already been redeveloped. So there's zoning changes that were already approved, and we've got existing apartment complexes. So this area probably should have been moved to a medium density, or not necessarily a high density, but something other than low density residential at the time that we did the review. We didn't see that, but when you look at the existing zoning, we've already approved several zoning cases over the years and allowed this area to develop with medium density housing. So that's why it can be justified as, you know, an appropriate zoning change to be consistent with what's already been approved and what exists in the neighborhood. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see where it's like already 2-family, 4-family, multifamily, 1-story, but building another one, does that still make it right to?
Right. Well, basically, the whole area doesn't follow the future land use map. It's already moved in a different direction. And so really, we should revise that future land use area to reflect how it's already been developed. Does that make sense?
It doesn't make sense to me. We just denied one going from 2-family to low-density residential, and now we're looking at approving one. I think that's inconsistent.
Yeah, very.
On 12th Street?
Whatever the last one was we just did.
We denied one.
2-family to
right
to low-density residential, we denied, and now we're looking at approving one.
I think the difference there is the existence of multifamily zoning. Multifamily developments are already in place in this area. So that transition happened a number of years ago once those things were built and they were allowed to be built, and the zoning was changed at that time. Whereas on 12th Street, it's a vacant property in the middle of primarily single-family use, but it's zoned 2-family dwelling.
Comments from the council or discussion?
You know, I've always been an advocate for neighborhood revitalization. And, you know, here we have somebody that's looking to revitalize an area, and I don't know, I'm real torn on this.
I mean, yeah.
This is a hard one.
I am too. I can't help but go with the city recommends the change. Planning and zoning was unanimous. It will represent construction, and as far as the increase in the flooding, we're assuming the city engineer will keep that from being a concern, or that would be addressed. But
another issue on the flooding too is we've had some pretty we've had 3 river floods. I know on the Red River, and that's the first time since 1991. That's one option. Another option too is there's a lot of property in this city that's built way under the floodplain, right up on the edge of ditches and things that were built back in the 60s and 70s. Some even built in the recent 10 years. I know Johnson Woods. I live in Johnson Woods, familiar with that. There's a lot of the homes in there that's built in the floodplain, and they flood about every 5 to 6 years. I don't think adding another property, developing a property is going to add water to it. I think developing the property, we can control the water. It's very common. I have to go with the planning and zoning. That's what they're there for. That's what we elected them to do.
Yeah.
And again, with new development, they can actually improve the situation by working with the city engineer rather than the way it is now, presumably.
Yeah. Whether there was a ditch there years ago or not, as she was talking, I was looking. Water feature maps were put together back in the 40s, and I have one here. There's nothing there as far as I've seen that if they did redirect something, it was going to be a tributary, small tributary of any sort. But you can't look at water if there was water there now compared to whenever they platted the streets 50 years ago. That's changed the water direction completely. And are we the best at that? No, but it's what it is today, and we're getting better. We've improved a lot of water structures. I think we're still far off from getting it done, but you know, it's every city, especially the one that's developing, goes through this every day. So
I do have a contour map of the area north of Lamar, if that would help, or if you'd like to see.
I was looking at Watershed too. That's kind of at the top of the hill anyway. I don't see it having more water flow than.
And also too, you know, given the fact that water is such a big issue, you know, having you on board to really watch and help direct some of this development, Ms. Easton, would really be helpful.
Looking at this contour map, this water actually flows west-southwest. I didn't even notice that on my map, but that's the one that we're looking at here. The watershed going to the southeast or going towards Lamar Avenue, towards the southeast part of town, actually doesn't start till 195. Yeah, if you look on this map, just food for
Oh, I'm
thought.
sorry. No, this is a zoom in. You can see 20th Street there, and the red box is the subject property that we're talking about for the zoning change. And it's really at the upstream end of this watershed.
Yeah.
And the bottom of that gray boundary is Lamar Avenue, near Dr. Del Toro's office. But it does flow. You can see the kind of fingers of that channel and what Ms. Malone was describing as the ditch or the creek. That's where it's the upstream end of that drainage basin. But the water's going to flow. It's going to surface drain until it finds a ditch or a storm drain to get into. And that's, like Skylar mentioned, at least we can control that. We can make sure that they do detention or put underground piping as needed. So we'll do what we can. I mean, if the council wishes for this to proceed.
Would you propose that how many units will the apartment be?
I think there were 14, 12.
How much landscaping will the city require, Ms. Easton?
We will require them to follow our most recent green space. It's like a 20%, I think, total, and then they have to have a buffer along the frontage of both streets. So they can incorporate a portion of their parking lot, or they can use their green space for their detention. There's multiple ways of doing that. They could also do underground storage, but that's difficult to get to drain if there's no street storm sewer to connect to. But there's ways that they can incorporate that into their design to make sure that they hold the water and then slow release it. So really the goal is it's not pushing water downstream faster than it is today. And so that's what the detention requirements.
Because I look at other property that Mr. Birchinall owns, and there's been no trees planted or anything, and how do we hold them to that?
We only adopted that ordinance this year as far as the requirement for landscaping and buffer zones along right-of-ways. But we are incorporating those requirements in our site plan reviews and making sure that we get those.
Yeah, go ahead.
Wait till you get to that mic, would you please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
I
All right.
can.
So when we originally started talking to Carla about the development, and I actually met John, our building official out there, we had talked about putting the parking lot in between the buildings, so the parking lot is not actually seen from the road, and putting everything from the residential or from the structure to the road all in landscaping, all the way around. So it's a little bit more seen from the road as not just a bunch of apartments up here. It looks like more of a townhouse estate. The person that is going to be buying these properties is from California, and she's real big on green. Having plant life, having it look as much residential as you can. So with that being said, the drainage that we had talked about is even underground drainage, where you put your drainage and you can really take control of your watershed from there. So that answers two of your questions about having plants or wildlife and greenery in it. Is we actually talked about moving the buildings as close as we can to the street and having from the street up to the structures no driveways at all, and that would be your grassy areas or your plant life or your landscaping, and all the parking and all the watershed actually be trapped inside and used underground water or detention on that. So we've been working closely with the city on trying to make sure that we cover our bases, because we don't want to put $1 million plus facility up and have issues with draining or flooding our next door property next door. Thanks for letting me talk.
Go ahead. If you want to talk, go ahead.
I'm not opposed, just to be real clear, I'm not opposed to us developing. And I'm very much for the thought process and the work that's going in by Skylar. It's the concern that this is all theoretical. To some extent, we don't really have a good understanding of exactly where the problems are coming from and the overall contributions of those problems. So you look at somebody like Miss Vandiver who sits back here, and her house has been flooded 4 times in the last year, or I mean in the last 3 or 4 years. 3 years ago when we got flooded, and I got flooded twice in 10 days, and it caused $80,000 of damage to my building that I have to pay for, then it's kind of a big deal, and we take it personal. And so when we're talking about developing, and we're talking about controlling this, you have to consider that this is not, this isn't an exact science, and we don't have enough studies to show what's going to happen. Maybe it's not going to be a big deal for Skylar's, but then what about the next one, or the past ones that we've done in the last few years where we didn't have the ordinance that said that we didn't have to control the runoff? And so you see that CD sitting right there. Please make a copy and share it, because at some point we've got to realize that that's what it looked like 3 years ago. And it's worse today. It comes right up to my back door on almost every time it rains. And that's not a hard rain. That's like a general run-of-the-mill normal rain. And it hits my back door every single time. So yeah, I take it personal, and I take it personal for people like Betty who have flooding in her house almost every single time, or right up around. And it's like a little moat around her place. And it runs all the way down, and it contributes. So all I'm saying is we could consider the fact that we need to do a little bit more research. Not only does it flood that, but it gets into the sewers. It's pushing sewage up out. As it does that, it floods that. My whole back area, if you look at that, I have sewage that runs along there. And when it's this high above the sewage, you can't tell me that's not causing a problem, that's not unsanitary. So again, I'm not opposed to us developing, and I think it's a great thing. But we do have other problems to consider, and that's all I'm requesting. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, we need to wrap this up. Any final comments or discussion, or motion?
It's a hard one.
I make a motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Got a motion to approve and a second. All in favor? Okay. All opposed? All right. Passes. Item number, where are we? 17. Discuss, conduct the public hearing, and act on an ordinance regarding the petition of the City of Paris, Texas to update zoning ordinance number 1710 of the City of Paris, Texas, specifically modifying regulations for storage containers. Ms. Easton.
All right. Our comp plan recommendation 1516 calls for appropriate regulations of storage containers. And this item really is to address kind of a gray area or a missing piece in our ordinance. Today we have a lot of people using shipping containers, pods, storage containers as permanent storage, but our ordinance isn't really caught up for that. We don't address that at all. Those were originally used as temporary type, portable, movable structures. You fill them, you take them, you store them somewhere else. But they're more and more used for permanent storage. And so we'd like to get a definition added to the accessory structure ordinance that acknowledges them first as an accessory structure, and then also assigns where they are appropriately allowed. So in residential districts, we're saying they need to be screened in the backyard and a minimum distance from fence lines so that we can protect proper drainage, lot to lot drainage or whatnot. We're asking that they be on an improved surface, and that surface would be really by manufacturer's recommendation. It could be gravel, it could be a paved surface, it could be blocks, whatever's appropriate to keep them off of the ground so that, again, they have proper drainage underneath them. And then the commercial districts, we're just recommending that they not be allowed either in front of the building or in front of the storefront. So either in the side yard or in the rear yard on a commercial lot. We've also added some sections in there to address temporary storage for seasonal use like Walmart has. And in visiting with the Billy Collard, who owns Portable Storage Solutions, he recommended that we allow for 4 months on that, so that's what you'll see in the proposed language. This did go before Planning and Zoning Commission, and they recommended approval 3-1. And so if you have any comments or questions about the proposed language, I'd be happy to entertain it.
So how many does this restrict on a residential area?
I think it has it in there that there could be one.
So you can only have one if you're a residential, you're in violation.
That's what the proposed ordinance says.
Okay. Are there any grandfathering? Are there lots already in violation that will now be illegal?
Potentially. We've gotten calls on a few. I mean, this is not something that we've gotten 100 calls on, but a handful of calls.
Even if someone wants to put two in their backyard and they want to make it look nice and disguise it, they're still going to be in violation.
Well, we could certainly change that. This is what was presented to the planning and zoning and what they approved, but there were no comments specifically about that section. The idea is it's more of an industrial look, and so anything you can see from the street, it doesn't feel appropriate for a residential neighborhood. So if you have one and you can locate it kind of central to your property where it's not visible again from the street, then that might be okay. If you get 2 or 3 things in your backyard, chances are you're going to be out of space, and that thing's going to be right up against a fence line. It's going to be more visible and more unsightly in a residential area.
You mentioned Walmart and seasonal. How would this affect Walmart? I thought this would only affect residential. Will it affect Walmart has lots of things right next to them pretty much all the time now? Would that make those illegal?
Well, they would give us a site plan that shows where they want to have it, or we could just go meet with them and say if this is where you're, a lot of cities require that you paint on the ground that's going to be your portable storage locations, and that way when the trucks are delivered, that's where they go. Our main concern with somewhere like Walmart is that they're not delivered and placed in a fire lane or placed in front of an exit from the building, so that when someone walks out, they're blocked by a storage container. That's the purpose for regulating that sort of thing. We just want to make sure also that Walmart maintains.
We've already got laws on the books for blocking fire lanes. I mean,
right.
Why would that be a concern with this ordinance?
We would review it as part of this
I mean,
ordinance.
obviously, if it violates the fire lane, we've already violated an existing law. Okay.
Remember this 2 weeks ago?
Okay, well, let's open the public hearing on this, then we'll have some more questions. Any more
I had a
questions? Go ahead, I'm
question.
sorry, Ms. Easton, go ahead.
Did you say that people could put these storage units in their backyard on a permanent basis?
They would be
Why
able to.
would we approve that?
We came up at planning and zoning, and it was somewhat split. We had some members recommend that we not allow them in residential at all. We had some members that we not regulate it at all. So we're trying to meet in the middle. We know that there's a lot of existing conditions out there where people are using this, and so we didn't want to create a prohibition of things that are already out there. If you have a proposed, what you'd like for it to include, we'd be happy to entertain it. This is just where we landed. If you can't see it from the street, that's really how we address that, is that you can have it in your backyard as long as it's not visible from the street.
What about somebody living next door to somebody who's got a unit in their backyard on a permanent basis?
Right.
Yeah,
I understand.
They can see it.
What's to keep them from doing the same thing that we got 2 weeks ago from Mr. Anderson? A storage unit that was legal initially, like the ones you purchased at Home Depot, that sort of thing. They had an extension cord from a temporary pole or construction pole. They had a potty chair that was then being disposed of in the neighbor's trash can. They can do the same thing with these. I say outlaw them unless they're for construction for 3 months or something, or on a commercial property. Don't allow them in anybody's backyard because they're going to try to turn them into a house. I just came from South Louisiana for a week, and I saw a whole lot of those being turned into temporary tiny houses or whatever, and they're an eyesore. I don't think they should be allowed, period, in anybody's backyard. My opinion.
I think there's a difference between a storage container and a portable building that people put for storage in their backyard. I think there's a big difference. These storage containers are what you put on the back of an 18-wheeler and wheel down the road, and and I do realize that there are some businesses that have them and use them for for storage, but I just don't see a residential need for a storage container in a backyard. A storage, like a storage house, or a unit, that's a different thing than one of
they're-
these big metal storage containers in someone's backyard.
They're like what you put on a ship and,
Yeah.
and send to China or something.
Exactly.
We put in what was the ordinance we did recently on the pods or the moving? We put an ordinance, a restriction on keeping them, they could keep them with a permit for a short period of time for moving
Right.
in and out or
Well, we
something
do
of that
have
sort.
that. You can get a
That's fine.
6-month permit if you have a remodel happening at your house, or like Brookshire's right now, they're undergoing their remodel and they have a number of these, and those are fine. You get a 6-month permit. If your construction isn't over in 6 months, you come get another 6-month extension. So that's not really the issue. The issue is the permanent storage.
Yeah.
And because we don't have anything in our ordinance, it just doesn't address it at all. And so people come in and request, they want to apply for a permit for these, and staff says, sorry, you can't have a permit for these, but they go ahead and have them delivered anyway. And then we go out to give a violation, but there's really nothing in the ordinance addressing it. So it's kind of it's a middle ground that needs to be addressed, and the city should determine what we want in our community so that we can adequately enforce it. I think that's really the missing link here. So we need something on the books that tell us what to do about it.
I think we got two different, widely divergent opinions on these things. And we've got people that don't want them at all, and we've got people that don't want to see the city put restrictions on people that want to tastefully put these things and use them for additional purposes. And I don't know how we strike a common ground between these two. I mean, I could see both sides. We even on a slightly different topic, we don't have an ordinance now that regulates RVs, and these huge RVs can be perfectly legally parked in your backyard and left for years if they want to. And so those are even more of an eyesore, particularly when they're not, but some of them are tastefully covered and with appropriate covers. And so again, the more we try to legislate these things, the stickier it gets. I mean, I can see both sides of this. I don't know how I feel on this. I'm a little reluctant to pass more city ordinances to give the city more power to when these things are written, they're black and white, and then you're in violation even though you've got a perfectly good use for this. And then if you say, okay, well, only one. Why one? If we don't like it, why none? Why not two? I mean, yeah.
Well, a lot of places regulate them by zoning district. So they're only allowed in industrial districts or commercial districts and not in residential. So that's one way of approaching it. Again, that was not the will of the Planning and Zoning Commission when it first came up. So if we need to revisit it, we can. But even on the Planning and Zoning Commission, it was somewhat divided. So again, we're trying to get staff a solution so that we know how to permit these things and where.
I would be for the storage containers on a temporary basis in residential areas.
And that's in here, right? I mean, if people are moving and they bring one
You can
in.
currently do that. Temporary is fine.
Temporary
This
is
for
absolutely,
permanent,
yeah.
permanent use.
Definitely
Because that's
not
how they're being
permanent.
used now.
This is permitting permanent.
I would definitely say the pods or reefer containers or any of that be totally obsolete because no.
On any property?
Yeah.
Temporarily?
But temporarily is fine. I'm
Yeah.
saying putting them in somebody's backyard in a residential deal because, in my opinion, is not getting us forward on trying to clean up and look a little better. We're regressing. On commercial properties, I think it has to be we can't be a view of on a city. If you're on the city street in front of the commercial property, I don't think it can be in view.
So not even inside yards, completely behind the building?
Yeah, you'd have to be completely behind the building, commercial-wise. There's a bunch of the commercial businesses that obviously would utilize them for dry storage or things of that sort, but they need to be where they're not visible from the street, just because they're usually 15 years old and they're rusted up paint, and they say, not being racial, but they'll have a Chinese company name on the side of them. That's great, but it doesn't look appealing, especially for passerbys and people that are coming to visit our town.
Okay. So I'm trying to see where we need to go with this. So y'all are kind of opposed to this because it's not restrictive enough.
What's the
We don't want it on a permanent basis in the
That's because
residential area.
this is setting up criteria that allow it and what's allowed and what's not allowed.
What does this
Yeah, well, we can open the public. Why don't we open the public hearing and get some comments from the public, and we can continue this discussion, okay? Public hearing is open. Come on, Mr. Dr. O'Brien. I know you want to talk.
Okay. I want everybody that you have your mindset where you're at right now, just stop. Put that away, okay? Because I'm going to approach this from a different perspective. Do I agree with everything that you said as far as aesthetic goes? Absolutely. Do I want one of those next door to me? Absolutely not. None of us do. We all agree with the mindset of how this needs to look. However, what I'm telling you is, and I emailed each one of you a document of my viewpoint for after reviewing it, and I will let you know that I was not present for the P&Z meeting, but I'm against this ordinance the way it is currently written. The spirit and intent of this proposed change is to provide aesthetic appeal. It does not put exceptions in there. If I want to take one of these intermodal containers, and let's use that term, intermodal container, not a portable storage unit, because technically one of these units that you buy on skids from a home improvement store, that is a portable unit. And it may be interpreted that way when a complaint is received from the city and they go and enforce that because there is no definition in what you've received there. There is no definition. It says portable storage container. It does not say intermodal unit, right? Nor is there any definitions for what an improved surface is. Okay, improved surface by most cities is asphalt or concrete. If you're going to put asphalt or concrete down, are you going to put a portable storage unit? Probably not. Okay, the idea is for quick, easy, permanent storage. Okay. Furthermore, if somebody wanted to use these for a above-ground tornado shelter, done. This ordinance eliminates the ability of somebody to be able to do that. It may, by interpretation, eliminate the ability to modify one of these to put below ground for a storm shelter. So I'm not saying I'm not against the idea for the aesthetics and what the intent of this ordinance is for. The intent is to make things pretty, but it's also excluding out so many other possibilities. And somebody mentioned about using the portable tiny homes. There are some wonderful, beautiful, high efficiency portable Connex homes that have been aesthetically modified outside with concrete board, some even bricked over stucco, EIFS systems used that decrease the cost, and that they are perfect for these long rectangular lots that we have. How many do we have in Paris? Tons. That would be perfect. The downside is we don't have any building ordinance right now. Correct me if I'm wrong, Carla. Our building ordinance does not address those. Most cities run into the problem is they don't know how to. So our city would fall back onto this ordinance and says, I'm sorry, at the heart of that, that's a Connex. That's an intermodal unit. I'm sorry, you can't put in that storm shelter because at the heart of it, it's an intermodal unit. And our ordinance right here, the one that is before you, says, I'm sorry, you can't have that. So think about the possibilities other than what you're intending it, and you picture it in your mind as it's an intermodal unit just for storage, okay? One more thing. If I were to get one of the smaller units and put it in my backyard, and I dressed it up pretty to match my house, and my neighbor complained, the code enforcement said, I'm sorry, at the heart of it, that's an intermodal unit. I don't care what it looks like on the outside. At the heart of it, our ordinance says in black and white, because they don't think beyond the black and white. They just look at the black and white. They don't think beyond that. That's it. I'm sorry, it's an intermodal unit. Well, it's covered in pretty. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, Dr. O'Brien. This is what it is. You know how many times I've been told that? Over and over and over again. It's just the black and white. So what I'm saying is, table it. Let's go back and rethink this, and let's rewrite it for exactly the intent in which it's used. But I think right now it way overreaches beyond what we're trying to get done here. Please fire back any questions.
Go ahead.
I would not have an objection if there were numerous vacant lots that are currently being mowed by the city and off the property tax rolls. If those were created for homes for people who couldn't afford anything else, maybe elderly, nicely landscaped. I just don't think they belong in anybody's yard, backyard.
Even if they're nicely dressed up in a smaller unit, and it does, at the heart of it, you couldn't even tell that it was an intermodal unit.
No.
You couldn't even tell it was.
Because this is Paris, and somebody's going to make it as trashy looking as possible.
Not unless you write the ordinance that way.
Well,
If
I
the
don't
ordinance is
see that
written
ordinance.
way-
I might support that.
Well, then this is what you're here for. Then let's do it. Then say no. let's write it so that it has to aesthetically match the same exterior. You have the right and ability to do that, so do it. And if we're talking about one per lot, how many small lots do we have? Lots of small ones. How many large lots? An acre lot? We have a couple of those here, don't we? We have some that have cattle and there's 2F, right? There's some single family ones that are 4 acres big here. Okay, why not write this to where we can have square footage of these intermodal units per square footage of the lot size? So some can have 1 or 2, and put those restrictions on there that it has to be aesthetically appealing, or it has to be below ground, or this, that, or the other. Or at least take the time to review the document that I sent you, because I spent a lot of time on the thoughts looking outside of the city of how those have been used and how they've been restricted. Anything else? But I want to emphasize, I absolutely agree with you. They're ugly. They should not be next door. I don't want one next door. I agree with you. And this goes beyond that.
I never got a document from you.
Okay? I had a paper copy somewhere up there.
I mean, unless this is it, the one
I
that was in our
emailed
packet.
each one of you from your
I didn't get his.
city council website or your city council email.
Oh, I never
emailed you a
got
link.
one. I never got anything from you emailed. I've got my email right here.
And it should have a link inside of there.
I have nothing from you.
Or take the time to look at it. There's nothing that says you have to pass this today. Take a time. Let's review it. Let's get it done right. Get it done right the first time. Again, I want to emphasize, I agree with you in all of your points. They're ugly. They should not be used just to plop down and put storage, but they can still be used effectively. Thanks.
Are you going to email me? All right. Yeah?
Yeah, go ahead.
Luanna Ballard. And I would like to have one in my backyard. My backyard is very big. And those tiny homes, yes, I was thinking about doing that. Everybody else is building duplexes for their retirement. I'm going to have me a little tiny home in one of those pods for my retirement. Or I've got a concrete block, my shed's just about to fall down. So I would like to have a pod on that concrete block. And yes, I would paint it and it would look very nice. But I'm for the pods in the backyard. Thank you.
I don't believe I have an email from Dr. O'Brien either.
Me neither.
It may have been blocked by the server because it was a link to a document, an online document. I don't know what the restrictions are with the city and how they do that, but I emailed a link to my Google Drive that had the document on there.
I got the email.
Did you? Okay. Some may be getting blocked, may not be. Maybe you put a spam filter on me from
I
past
have
emails
nothing.
and didn't remember and said, oh, God, here's
Listen,
Dr.
this is
O'Brien
an
again.
iPad. I don't know how to operate it. So.
But I want to emphasize on that. The idea, again, is you can put those restrictions. You can't just plop one in your backyard. You have to put a pitched roof that matches the same angle of the roof with the same shingles or whatever that matches the house. And remember, inside of there, I want a key word inside of there is this is an accessory building. Accessory building.
Right, not
means there has to be a
primary
primary
residence,
structure.
yeah.
There has to be accessory. So there's 3 definitions that we need to remember there is what's an improved surface, and it's an intermodal container, and this is an accessory. And in our current building codes, it may take care of that, but if you had an intermodal unit as the primary and secondary, it's not taken care of there. Is there confusion with the definitions? Am I right on that, Carla? And Carla, agree and disagree on this, so I just want what's right for the city, because I agree with you, but I think we can do better.
This ordinance does not address primary use. It doesn't talk about making one of these a home. It doesn't address that at all. This is for storage in a backyard. Can it be used as an accessory structure to a main structure? That's the only thing that we're addressing here. So we do have a process under the small home ordinance that was recently approved that allows, if somebody wants to convert one of these to a livable unit, they can. They have to meet all of the building code requirements. They have to get approval from the building official. There's a process for that, and that's how that's addressed. That's not what this ordinance is about. This ordinance is a storage unit that's watertight, airtight, readily available apparently, and people want to put them in their backyard. And we just need to know if that's something as a city that we want to allow so that staff can respond appropriately. Does that make sense? The making these containers into a permanent main primary structure with water, sewer, and electricity, all of that has to go through the process. It's doable, and some communities are doing that. We've seen that. And they can be kind of cool. But that's not what we're really talking about right now. Right now, we're talking about just accessory use in the backyard.
And that you just discussed falls under the tiny house ordinance.
That's exactly right. It requires a
So this-
specific use
yeah,
permit.
this
It
is
has to go to
strictly
planning and zoning and the city
temporary, yeah.
council for
Will
final
we have an
approval.
issue with the definitions here? Could this be?
I don't believe so. I think that staff can understand the definition as written. It's basically just it's adding the containers as an allowable accessory structure, where right now
And the
it's,
containers would be the pods.
but the pods, that's correct.
Okay.
Is that a minimum of 750 square feet for a tiny house? Do I remember that
I
correctly?
think it's 700, I think, for the small home. Anything less than 1,000 feet and nothing less than 700 feet is approved. So between 700 and 999,000 square feet, not nine, sorry.
So
Late.
an intermodal,
999.
the largest intermodal container is 424. That's the biggest one you can buy. So it never could be a small house anyway.
You can add them together.
Here's my thing
do
on the
things.
intermodal. So if I'm going to approve something that's going to say we're going to let people buy shipping containers to build houses out of in the city of Paris. Let's open that can of worms. That's what we're going to do. We're going to buy a metal frame, and then we're going to paint it to look aesthetically pleasing going down the road. I know if I owned a home and my neighbor moved in 2 or 1 to live in, and then they had to put something on top of it and the side of it to make it aesthetically pleasing. They had to brick it and put a shingle roof on top of it. And then if you do that to make it aesthetically pleasing, to match the neighborhood like it should, or put wood siding on the side of it, you've built a home. And you have achieved nothing more than, I got a pod in there. That's what we're after. And that, in my opinion, and everybody's got one, but I mean, a pod is designed to haul freight from the United States to China and from China to the United States, more or less. And they're made to go on a truck, and they're made to go on a train, and they're made to go on a boat. They're not homes.
I would add, many communities, especially over in the Metroplex area, they adopt design standards, and they give you the minimum percentage of brick or stone or, the aesthetic treatments of a home in a
I
residential
think it's
neighborhood.
fine to move in
But the
one of the
state
Home
legislature
Depot
actually said that
buildings
cities
in,
can't do that anymore.
or the pod, if we got to have the pod. But I think it has to match the home. If you want it in there, you want a pod, rock and roll. But the whole thing, nobody will know it's a pod because it's going to look just like the home.
Yeah, but how much time are you gonna give them to make it look like your home? Like somebody, my
think they have-
intentions are to make it look like a home, but how long do you give them to make it look like part of the home?
That's a good question for her. I don't.
I mean, I could be working on it for 3 years. I'm making it out of a home, so.
And what's aesthetically pleasing to you is not aesthetically pleasing to me, possibly.
I'm gathering that the part of this ordinance that substantial people are objecting to is it permits someone to put one of these in their backyard.
And not do anything.
It specifically permits
Permanently.
that. Permanently.
I'm
They
not
can
for
permanently put it there. So that's written into this ordinance with no requirement that it be made aesthetically pleasing at all. That's currently what we're voting, that's what's in front of us right now, is to allow that. And so I want to point that out, that's in here.
What I'm saying to you is you guys put the if in there. You put the if in there.
I understand that. What I'm saying though is you're going to put a pod in, and then there's no way to you either got to put it on a concrete structure or put it on piers. That's only 2 ways I know that you could make it into an actual structure that, if you put it on dirt or gravel, the bottom's going to rust out of it in about 5 to 10 years. I've got 30 of them sitting in Delta County today. I mean, they're not made for permanent storage on the ground. I know people like to put them there. I do too. We use them at deer camp. We use them at our facility at the Cotton Gin. I mean, they're good storage facilities.
There are the ones from Home Depot on the skids.
The Home Depot ones they're not sitting on the ground. They have a structure but what I'm saying is if you buy a metal structure and you set it on the ground in your backyard in 5 to 10 years, the bottom of it's going to be rusted out. So it's got to have concrete. It's got to be processed to the point of you're going to have a home. You're going to have a storage building. So what's even the point of improving or saying, yeah, we're gonna do the pods, when they're gonna spend more money on building the structure around it. I mean, I don't.
Okay, we're still in the public hearing, so let's let more people come up and talk and get the public hearing out of the way.
I just wanted to give some quick background. When this came before planning and zoning, we struggled just as much as you guys. The ordinance that's before you is, like Carla said, it is a compromise. I think there's probably something in it that each one of us didn't like. It's not an ordinance we loved, but it was kind of the best we could come up with, because we kind of had the same spread you guys do. Some of us leaned towards, no, we don't want them in residential. Some of us leaned toward, no, we don't want regulation at all. So we kind of went through the same thing with this, and this is kind of the best thing that we hammered out. So that's the background on that, in case you're saying, okay, what are these crazy planning and zoning commissioners doing over there? We went through the same thing y'all did.
Okay.
Richard Thompson again. Do y'all know that the legislation changed on your percentages, brick and all that, on what the city can control? You cannot control what you say this person builds has to have X amount of brick on them anymore. Are you aware of that? Yes, sir. They can put a metal building up next to you. Right next to your house, they can build a metal building. Doesn't look like a home at all. And that's legal now. So this pod's not that far out there. And they are good structures.
Oh, I agree.
So there's no, I mean, you can have something built out of wood, studs, normal framing, or you can build it out of metal. It's up to, it's up to you. But personally, I don't like stick frame. I'd rather have concrete walls or metal. Doesn't burn. So just keep this in mind, that these structures, you're not gonna be able to control what you're doing. You can't tell them they gotta put a roof on. You can't tell them they gotta do this. But you gotta consider, you allow 8-foot fences in Paris. I think they're only 8 foot, so most people, they put them in the backyard, she's right, you're not gonna see them. 8-foot fence is gonna block them. So, but you might wanna watch it. I think they're good things, though. They're good building material. Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak at the public hearing? We will now close the public hearing and move on to the next phase. What y'all want to do?
I don't like the ordinance.
I'm not in favor of storage units. I'm not in favor of shipping containers in people's backyard on a permanent basis. I don't care if they dress it up to make it look real pretty. I don't care. I don't think metal storage, shipping containers should be in someone's backyard on a permanent basis.
Lipstick on a
Temporarily,
pig.
oh yeah. Permanently, heck no.
All right. Anybody else have and you're opposed to this too, right? How about Ms. Stone?
I'm not for it at all.
Okay. All right. Well, sounds like we have enough votes to not pass this.
I mean, it's not dead in the water.
Yeah,
I mean, we
is there
can
something?
work on
what-
something
could,
else, but
what could you come back with, Ms. Easton?
Well,
that might be.
If we know we want to prohibit it in the backyard, then we can come back with language that says that they are not allowed. And I think that will help staff so that when people come in to apply for a permit for an accessory structure using one of these units, we can say, no, that's actually against the ordinance, and then we can enforce it by going and writing a violation. I think that's the missing link. So if you don't want them, we can certainly revise it to not allow it in residential. What about commercial and industrial properties? Is that something different? Do you want
Commercial, I think, is different, and I think we've got some businesses that utilize these in a commercial environment that we certainly don't want to shut them down. Nor do we. I mean, we want aesthetically pleasing area, but we don't want to say, oh, you got two behind your business and you use it. We're not going to let you shut it down. I don't want to do anything like that, but I don't want to do anything that would harm our businesses. Although I'm not opposed to, I think we should pass some restrictions for where the businesses can place them. They shouldn't place them in front of the building. They shouldn't place them right on the street corner. There's some common sense things we could do with that. I don't know. How does the council feel on that? Because we need to instruct them what we want.
I like them out of view, and Mr. Thompson made a good example. Is put up, in the commercial and industrial, I agree with Ms. Knox on the, I don't see them being used in residential at all. That's just, it doesn't make sense to me at all. There's way different ways to make that happen, and, there's gonna be half of them look pretty good, and the other half, it's just gonna be a problem. I've got one in my neighborhood today that's been, I think 3 different times he's been cited to move it, and it's still, so it's already a problem. We ain't even, regulated them to do it. But I would say, on the commercial use, that it needs to be either it needs to be out of view from the street.
But from a residential standpoint, though, temporarily is fine if you're working on your house and you have to move out for a little while. But, this business about going in and getting a permit for 6 months, and then 6 months later you show up for another permit, and 6 months later you show up for another, No, it's got to be definitely tied on a case-by-case basis to what they're doing in the property. Because, people are going to show up every 6 months just to keep that permanent structure in there.
What happens now if someone, my daughter used one of these moving from her home and it was parked in front of her house. What happens now if someone parks it in front of their house and starts moving stuff out of their house?
Typically, those are gone within 30 days.
Yeah, but they typically are, but what if they're not? Okay, what power do we have at this point without an ordinance?
We don't have much.
So
that's
my
part of the
feeling would
issue.
be, my feeling would be we should address in the ordinance that people, without having to go to the city, should be able to park one of these in front of their house for a reasonable amount of time in order to load it and move without having to deal with city bureaucracy, number one.
Yeah.
I also think that there's a pretty good consensus that we don't want these in people's backyards. Anything that looks like one of these, we don't want them in the backyards. And there are other ordinances that deal with things like this. Number 3, we don't really want to see them, but we don't want to restrict businesses from using these for the betterment of their business. So if we could come up with some common sense restrictions for visibility regarding businesses. Anybody else have any comments? Agree with that, or anything you want to add? Or
I'm with that.
If Dr. O'Brien wants to bury one and use one as a tornado
We'll let him.
shelter,
We
that's
can write
fine,
it-
because we're not looking at it. We're not looking at it, so that's fine too. But I mean, I know what you mean.
My thought is I just want to make sure it doesn't exclude other purposes other than the storage. Especially I want to make sure it doesn't interfere with future building, because I think there is a place for these containers for future building.
can we write it in the ordinance that they can't
And they
be?
have to pull a permit.
That they,
Absolutely.
that specifically state what it is we're prohibiting using one of these for its intended purpose, which is storage of, if you said that's what we don't want. We don't want someone pulling this in his backyard. It's real ugly. If there's other uses for these things that don't involve storage, I have no problem with writing the ordinance that doesn't exclude those.
Yes, sir.
We can always tweak it, and
Yeah,
I mean,
bring us
as a
something else and
situation-
we'll
as
rip it to
something
pieces
comes
as
up,
well.
We can always modify the ordinance as if something comes up and we say, "Oh, this is a,"
I
but
think
for right now-
we're in agreement for most of this. If you can bring us back something, and feel free to call us or ask us if you're tweaking it. And I guess it need to go back to P&Z again, or does it?
I don't know that it does need to go, you're going to be basically not going with their, with their recommended ordinance, but I would reopen the public hearing and keep it open so that you don't have to re-advertise it.
Okay, I'm going to reopen the public hearing on advice of counsel.
Ain't no testimony.
Okay, are we comfortable with that? Do we even need to vote on this? Since we're not going to approve it, we don't have to vote on it, right? Or should we reject it?
I think you're gonna table it.
Okay, we'll
To make a
table it.
motion to table this.
I'll second it.
All in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, that was fun. All right. Item number 18, discuss and act on a resolution requesting the sheriff or a constable to resell the bid-off tax properties in accordance with the Texas Property Code. Gene?
Of course, I think we're all aware that the Westgate apartments are in bad shape. And so the city's been working, trying to figure out how we can keep that cleaned up and do something with it. through the efforts of the city's delinquent attorney, Tracy Pounders. We've gotten an agreed default judgment signed by a district judge, which will allow us to take that to a tax sale. At a first-time tax sale, the minimum bid has to be what the liens are against it, of whatever sort they might be, whether it's property taxes or abatements that we've done to it. And that will be approximately $170,000 on this property. That'd be the minimum bid that can be sold at. What this resolution actually does is allow that if that does not take place, if we don't get that minimum bid required that we would be able to then resell the property at public auction. And that could be, we could take a bid of a lesser amount at that point in basically a resale to that. We can set a minimum bid requirement even on that sale, and we would certainly probably set some sort of minimum bid as we move toward that. So this ordinance would allow that resale at a lower, at something other than the $170,000 if it doesn't sell for $170,000 or more. It also authorizes us 37 other properties that have did not sell at their original tax bid for us to resell those at the same time.
And Mr. Pounders is here if anybody has any questions of him.
Any questions, discussion? You might want to make a motion.
Make a motion to approve. We do need to, did you say we needed to move it down from the 170?
If it doesn't sell for $170 at the tax sale, then we can re-auction it off in a
I
resale
make a
for
motion
something
to
less than
approve the resolution as it stands.
Second.
All in favor? And future events, anything anybody wants to bring up? Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.